Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome. You need to stretch. We're gonna try to get through some more hip stuff today. Been doing a lot of hip exploration, so let's get right into it. So you're gonna want to sit up against the wall. I'm gonna start off with some axial rotations for our hips. So let's talk about what that is actually. So we're gonna sit up against the wall and get up nice and tall here, all right? If we are indeed in neutral spine, we should feel a slight curvature of our lumbar spine off the wall, and our upper back is on the wall, and our head is on the wall. I want you in your widest straddle position, and from here, we want to squeeze our quadricep muscles, all right, so that our knees stay locked. If you feel like you can't sit up straight, and you're being forced here, then I want you to put a little pad underneath your butt to help elevate you up. I'm going to use my hands to help keep me in this nice long spinal position. And we're going to slowly rotate from my hip joint. All right, so if you're seeing this on camera, you're going to see that my foot is moving, but also that my hip is moving. All right, so I'm really rotating the whole femur here, not just the foot. If I was to just do the foot, it would look like that. All right, the whole femur is rolling into internal rotation. Now I'm going to squeeze a little bit. Think about getting more. I should really feel stuff working kind of right up in here. And then as I go out, I'm going to try to externally rotate as wide as I can. There, I'm going to feel stuff almost in the sides and outside part of my hip. All right, let's keep going. We're going to go another minute. With this, we're less concerned about reps, more concerned about range of motion. So each time we should be able to push a little bit further. And internal rotation. And external rotation. Let's do two more each way. Good. All right. We are going to try the same kind of hip rotation stuff, but from a different position. So we're going to do a bear sit position. So bear sit is feet here and here. I got to grab a pad to elevate my butt. My hips are not that mobile, so check it. I'm going to put two pads down here. Help elevate my butt. Sit down on there. I'm still going to get my tailbone right up against the wall. That's the word I'm looking for. All right. And I'm in this bear sit position. What I want to make sure of when I'm in this bear sit is that I'm still nice and tall through the spine. All right. That I'm not hunched over. All right. So I'm here. And I should be able to find a stretch in my inner thigh. You'll notice that like the soles of my feet are pointed out that way. I'm not like that. You'll also, hard to see from this angle, but my shins and lower leg are parallel with one another. All right. So I feel the stretch in the inner thigh. My hips are currently externally rotated and abducted. I'm going to internally rotate my right hip. It looks like this. Nice and slow. I'm squeezing that hip musculature, pulling that right hip into internal rotation and adduction, trying to go as far as I can. I am not shifting my whole body that way. My right butt cheek is not coming off the mat. My left arm is help stabilizing here. And I go all the way back. And in. Squeeze, try to get further each time. And out. I'm moving a little bit, so I'm going to take my time to reset. Remember, body position is important. We got to hold stable parts stable in order to create mobility in the parts that we are looking to create more mobility in. Good, that's 3. Open wide, try to push down into the ground, try to open further. That's 4. And 5. Good. Let's switch sides. I'm going to take my right arm. I'm going to put it down, lock this hip into external rotation and into abduction. Now my left hip is going to internally rotate and adduct. Again, my foot kind of looks like a windshield wiper, but it only looks like that because movement's coming from the hip. I'm not twisting or activating my ankle joint. I'm just trying to keep it stable. And open wide. Close. And open. 3 more. Close. Try to squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Feel that hip musculature working. Every rep is a chance to assess what's happening in the hip. And open. Push down. 2 more. Good. So that is our capsule car from Bear Sit. So we just rotated those hips. It is now time to get into the thing I wanted to focus on today, which is sometimes called a piriformis stretch. I'm going to call it external rotation, pails and rails from supine. It's a really long name, but that's what it is. All right, so we're going to need a wall, all right? And we're going to put our feet flat on the wall. And we are in this squat position, all right? Actually, if you were with me on Tuesday morning, we actually worked from this position to figure out hip flexion. We're now going to use this position to do some pails and rails of external rotation in the hip, all right? But first, let's talk about our setup. Palms flat on the floor. Shoulders are down on the floor. Feet and knees are at 90 degrees as well as the hips. So ankles, knees, and hips all kind of at 90 degrees, all right? So some people might be closer, some people might be further. Find your spot. Now let's talk about our pelvis. I can go into anterior pelvic tilt with my low back off the ground, or I can go into posterior pelvic tilt with my low back pressed into the ground. It might be difficult for you guys to see in the video, but this is anterior pelvic tilt. There is a space underneath my low back for me to put my hand, all right? And this is posterior pelvic tilt, no space, all right? For our purposes, I want to try to encourage a slight anterior pelvic tilt, and we want to keep it there. All right, from here, I'm going to take my right leg and I'm going to fold it across my left leg. Notice when I did that, my butt came off the ground. That's perfectly fine for right now. I'm going to put it down on the ground, my butt that is, back down on the ground. And you will notice I am not flexible to get back down to the ground. My butt is still up in the air, which means my low back is down on the ground, which means I am in a posterior pelvic tilt. That goes against the rule I just told you of trying to stay in anterior pelvic tilt. So what can we do about this? Let's uncross And let's scooch further away from the wall. All right, just an inch or two. Let's try it now. Right leg. Ankle goes right on top of that thigh. I'm going to drop my butt down to the ground. There, I got a little bit more room. And that's really tight for me. I'm not quite able to enter anterior pelvic tilt. So guess what? I'm going to be true to what my body is telling me, and I'm going to back up a little bit more, just about an inch. All right? This is a very hard thing for people to do. I'm backing up because my hips don't currently have that range of motion. So I am regressing the stretch to make sure I hit the right spot. All right. That is a very hard thing for people to do, but it is the right thing because you're going to just hit the tissue that needs to be stretched better. So do not be afraid to regress your position to make it more beneficial for the area you're trying to stretch. All right. I'm going to start my timer here for 2 minutes while I talk a little about this position. So here, I'm in anterior tilt. My leg is crossed over. I'm going to put a hand here to help a little bit more stretch happen. All right. And it kind of changes the stretch a little bit too. That feels good. I'm breathing. I'm making sure I have nice long exhales. This is the passive stretch part of pails and rails. All right. I'm here. I'm feeling a big stretch kind of right around here. All right. One of the reasons I don't like why this is called a piriformis stretch is because if I come like here, that's a different stretch. If I come here, different stretch. If I push a little bit, different stretch. It's not all targeting the piriformis, right? It's just targeting this tissue that needs to be stretched. There's tissue on top of the piriformis. There's tissue below the piriformis, all right? So you're targeting all of the tissue in this area. It's not just one muscle, all right? We've been in this position for about a minute. We got another minute to go, and then we're going to talk about our PALS contraction. Our PALS contraction is going to be to try to take my leg and push my right leg into my left thigh while thinking about rotating my leg back to neutral. All right? But nothing's actually going to move. It's going to be an isometric contraction. All right? Really, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to fire up this area right here. All right? By pushing my leg towards the wall with a rotational bias. All right? So let's try to do that. We're going to start out very lightly. In 3, 2, 1, I'm pushing my foot into my thigh. I'm maintaining anterior pelvic tilt. I am now slowly ramping up the pressure. I can feel this working a little bit more. I'm pushing towards the wall with a rotational bias. I'm ramping up my pressure, pushing. Hold it there for 10. Once I get to 0, we're going to go into our rails contraction. Our rails contraction is going to be to try to rotate the leg the other way or bring our foot closer over my head or towards my head. All right. It would also mean bringing the knee towards the chin a little bit. In 3, 2, 1, let's do the rails contraction. Nothing is moving here. I'm maintaining anterior pelvic tilt. I'm squeezing muscles of my inner thighs here to try to lift this foot up. I'm trying to relax the ankle joint. This is very difficult to do and talk at the same time. I should have thought about this first. Breathe, hold it, squeeze, breathe, squeeze, breathe. Notice nothing's moving. It's a true isometric contraction because I am indeed at end range. And relax. Now, theoretically, I should be able to get deeper into this stretch. So I can go more into anterior tilt because I probably lost a little bit there. And I can press a little bit more on this leg to encourage external rotation of the hip. All right. Let me just adjust that. I just adjusted that because my ankle was bothering me. All right. That's fine. Still in the same stretch here. All right. It's moved slightly, but that's okay. All right. We're going to do one more set of pals rails so that we get better at this. All right. Remember, your pals contraction is going to be to press the leg towards the wall, trying to rotate back to neutral. Your rails contraction is going to be trying to pull the leg off of the left leg and rotate more externally. I know these are very hard to visualize and think about, especially when you're new at this. It just takes some time. All right. Pals contraction, we're going to go in 3, 2, 1. Activate by slowly pressing the foot into the thigh. Slowly trying to internally rotate. Maintain the anterior pelvic tilt. Start ramping up as much as you can. Your safest, greatest pressure today for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now rails. Try to pull it off. Try not to lose anterior pelvic tilt. Squeezing the inner thighs here. Try to lighten the pressure between your ankle and your knee. Hold it there. Breathe. Work hard. Come on. Get it. And it's kind of embarrassing that nothing moves when you do pals rails, but you're working so hard. Squeeze that tissue. Squeeze it. Squeeze it. Squeeze it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Let's go back into our passive stretch. Try a little bit more anterior tilt. A little bit more push here on this leg. We're just going to hold here for about another 30 seconds. Then we get to come out of this position. We've been in this position for about 6 minutes. That's a lot of time under tension. That's good. All right. I'm coming out of that. Oh, wow. All right. I got to come fully out of that. Shake that out. Ooh. I just want to do some rotations with that leg. All right. So I was just in flexion. I'm going to go to kind of neutral with that hip. And I'm going to externally rotate it. Internally rotate it. Externally rotate it. Internally rotate it. Externally rotate. Try to squeeze more out of it. Internally rotate. Externally rotate. Squeeze more out of it. Internally rotate. Good. So that's just a little movement to help encourage those activations that we just did. Because the pals and rails is obviously isometric. No movement occurs. We want to do some movement afterwards, and that can vary based on what level you're at. All right. Luckily for us, well, most of us, I hope, we have 2 legs. So if you don't, I'm sorry. And we're going to go on your back on the ground. We're going to go now right leg up against the wall. All right, so I got to find my distance. I'm going to guess it's somewhere around my right leg, so I'll start a little bit further than 90-90. And I'm going to fold left leg across and sink those hips back down to the ground. Oh, fudge. God, that's tight. All right, so that's intense. That's real intense. And I want to be able to hold this for 2 minutes. I'm going to back up just a little bit to decrease the intensity of that stretch. Remember, one of the important parts is being able to calm down the nervous system during the passive stretch. So if a stretch is too intense for you to handle, you're just going to get more and more stressed about it and more anxious about it. So I like to tell people, I'd rather in the beginning you err on the side of feeling almost nothing. And then you can intensify that stretch little by little. So just now, I just tilted a little bit more anterior tilt, and that brought more stretch to the area because for about 30 seconds, I was able to calm down and relax. All right. I'm also going to intensify and change the stretch a little bit by pushing down. All right. Really important here, I don't think I mentioned on the other side, is that my pelvis is even. I don't want any hip hike. So like the left side of my pelvis shouldn't be any higher than the right side of my pelvis. All right. Should be no higher towards the shoulder. No higher towards the shoulder. We want the pelvis to be even. Let's hold it here and breathe. We got about another minute in this position. Let's go over pals, rails one more time. Pals contraction. We want to attempt to rotate our leg back to neutral. All right. Rails contraction. We want to try to externally rotate the leg even more. All right. What the pals would look like if we could actually do it, if our leg wasn't in the way, is our foot would rotate back towards the wall. What rails would look like if we could actually do it, but we can't because we're at end range and no movement will occur, our foot would come off of the right leg more this way. All right. So it's rotation happening from here in the femur, and it just kind of manifests itself in the shin, in the foot. All right. Where are we at? We're at 2 minutes. Perfect. All right. Let's get into this pals contraction. Remember, we're going to start off pals nice and slow. In 3, 2, 1, start it off slowly and lightly. This ensures that you're activating the correct tissue. Make sure you're targeting that tissue in the butt. Slowly ramp it up. How much pressure you're giving to that thigh with that foot. Give it, give it, give it. I'm going into more anterior tilt. Pull from both ends. Breathe, push, breathe, push, breathe, push. Rails contraction is going to come in 5, 4, 3, 2, and rails. Try not to move that pelvis. I know your first inclination is to press your low back into the ground. Try not to do that. Breathe. 20, 19, 18. This is fired up right now. I'm trying to pull, trying to rotate. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax that. Go back to your passive stretch. All right. There's an important time here. Try to get deeper into that stretch. Theoretically, you should be able to with those activations that we just did. Keep deep belly breathing. Keep nice, long, slow exhales. We're going to hold here for another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll do our second set of pals rails. All right, pals contraction. We'll start to push into our right thigh in 3, 2, 1, go. That's pushing into the right thigh. This is pushing into my hand. Because remember, I'm trying to create a rotational force. Pals, pals, pals. Push it, push it, push it. 10, 9, 8. Once we get to rails, we're going to try to lift this towards my face and push this away from my hand. Another rotational force. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nothing's going to happen. Maybe this knee will come off my hand. Doubtful. As long as I keep my hand still. 5, 4, keep going. 3, this is fired up. Trying to twist. 2, 1, rest. Go back into your passive stretch. I'm going to hold for one last set of 30 seconds. Enjoy this passive stretch. All right, we should be feeling it kind of in the same tissue the whole time. All right, and this is about how much effort you need to put in to really change tissue. And honestly, just one day of doing this isn't going to do much. You need to repeatedly do this over the course of at least 4 weeks to see a little bit of change. And then, you start programming it out depending on how important it is to you, all that jazz to keep seeing more change. Let's slowly come on out of that. Oh. All right, let's go back onto our knees and we'll do one more set of our rotations from our slight hip extension position. Here, externally rotate, internally rotate. Oh, that's a hamstring cramp. Wow. All right. Oh, man. When you get a hamstring cramp, boy, do you know it. All right, there. Just going to tone down the intensity I was squeezing that with. Oh, man, it's still happening. You keep going on your own while I deal with this hamstring cramp. Cramps are not a bad thing. We just did a lot with a lot of musculature in the butt and hamstring area and adductors. Oh, that's hitting it right there. All right, 2 more. Here we go. 1, 2. All right, that's enough of that. Where are we at? All right, cool. We got about 20 minutes here. I want to go into a let's actually do frog pails and rails. All right, I'll do some frog pails and rails, and then we'll get into a little bit more movement. So my frog, legs spread out wide, toes pointing out to the side, and my heels are directly behind my knees. This looks exactly like bear sit, except I'm on my knees instead of on my butt. All right, and the position of frog is quite complex because different people will feel different stretches depending on where they're at in it. So I want to do a little exploratory phase first. So there are two ways you can move in frog. The first way, you can move forward or backwards. I want you to try this a few times, about 3 times. Forward and backwards. And I want you to think, where are you feeling more stretch? Or where are you feeling a stretch that you want to feel and work on? So for me, it's all the way back here. That's where I want to work. All right, so I'm going to hold this position. Now, the other thing that you can do in frog is a cat-cow, or you can alter your spine and pelvis by going rounding or arching. Let's do this 3 times. Find the position that we want to be.
Oh, he asked round first?
Rounding.
Wait, explain.
Arching. Rounding.
What else does that mean, though?
And arch. I'm going to hang out in this arch position, pushed really far backwards. All right. This is the position most like the squat that I've been working on. So this is why I chose this position. There is no right or wrong on positions where to stretch. I would just say choose the place that needs the most stretch. We're going to hold here for about 90 seconds, and then we're going to do pails, rails. So the pails, rails of this is a little bit easier to feel for most people. The pales contraction is a contraction of the inner thighs, and it would almost be like, imagine my legs are an open book, and I'm trying to close my legs shut. All right. So the angle of push is down at a 45-degree angle into the floor from this side, and down at a 45-degree angle into the floor from that side. Right. Closing the book shut. So I'm activating those inner thighs. What I want to make sure doesn't happen is I don't want to change my pelvis position to this rounded position, because I've just been stretching in the anterior tilt position. So I want to maintain that. I want to stabilize that. The rails contraction. That's right. Is that? Rails contraction is activation of the outer hip musculature, and it would be as if I was trying to open the book wider. Another way to think about this is trying to get your crotch closer to the floor. Rails contraction is quite difficult for a lot of people. Pales, not so much. So let's get this started and do some exploring. Pales contraction, let's start off very lightly on this one. We don't need to pop a groin. Start slowly pressing into the floor with those inner thigh muscles. Start ramping up the amount of pressure you're pressing into the floor with. Start ramping up very slowly to your safest, greatest pressure that your adductors can produce today. And let's hold it there for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax the pales and let's go rails. Outer hip. I feel my legs trying to spread wider. I actually get the sensation of the skin under my knees being pulled because I'm trying to open those legs wider. That's a good thing to think about feeling. Ooh. Big stretch in those adductors, squeezing tight for 10, 9, 8, fire this guy up there, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax that. We're back into our passive stretch. See if you can get an inch wider. Not even an inch, a millimeter. All right, so I'm going to actually lift up and slide out a little bit. Oh, geez. Oh, yes. Oh, man. We're going to hold this passive stretch for another 30 seconds. This is intense. Oh, man. I went deep into this one. Stuck here, though. When I make a decision to go deep into a stretch, I try not to back out of it. This is why when you get into the stretch, go easy into it. All right, another 30 seconds. We'll get into our pales contraction. Just breathe. Try to calm down that stretch sensation. All right, we're going to get into pales in 5, 4, 3, 2, close the book, activate those inner thighs lightly. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Close that book. Close that book. Think that you're dragging the knees in. Oh, fudge. 10, 9, 8, 7. Check your pelvis position. It shouldn't have moved. 5, 4, 3, 2, and rails. Slowly ramp up to your safest, greatest pressure. Try opening those legs wider. 5, wider. 4, 3, I can feel myself losing my position. 2, make sure you get back to that. 1, rest. Hold it there. We got to hang out for a few more seconds. We're going to make it. Promise. Oh, man. This is intense. That's all I got to say about that. We're going to crawl out of this position in a few seconds here. All right. You got to come out. Oh, come out slowly. This is my favorite way to come out. Oh, mama. Oh. Oh. Oh, wow. Oh, jeez. Oh, that was nice. So, I hear a lot about people knocking flexibility or mobility. And like, truth be told, flexibility is just a subset of mobility, but I feel like people lump it all into one, so I'll lump it all into one. But if you don't feel like that coming out of a stretch, you're not really doing mobility, all right? So, it shouldn't be easy if you really want to make physiological change. If you want to, feel better, then sure, an easy passive stretch is great for that. It makes you feel good, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you can indeed create physiological change by strength training in your end ranges of motion, which is what mobility is, which is what Kinstretch is. But like doing it is hard. So when you come out of a stretch we were in that for like 8 minutes, you should feel like your legs are going to explode, all right? Or else you're not truly working it. And that may be why you're not seeing gains in the mobility aspect of things, all right? All right, let's finish off here. With some Cossack squats to help integrate some of those movements. And we'll finish off with a few other movements that I like to help integrate those. All right, so Cossack squats. I'm gonna go legs spread out wide. Actually, I'm gonna do a side-to-side squat or a low Cossack squat. So this means I'm gonna stay down at the bottom as I go side to side. Oh, all right, I think my hips are ready for it. I'm gonna sink down to that right side. Notice that toe comes up. Notice this heel stays down. And I'm going to push and pull. Staying as low as I can. Pull, push. Staying as low as I can. That's one. Pull, push. I'm trying to keep my chest up. 2. 3. Trying to stay slow. As I get tired, I tend to speed these up. Breathe. Should be able to get lower. 4. One more each way. And 5. Oosh. Oh yeah, nice integrative movement for some hip external rotation and hip abduction. All right, so that's the side-to-side squat. This next one, it's quite difficult, right? It's called a half kneel to 90-90. And we're gonna do it in a very specific way. And I'm gonna use the slider to show it. If you're on a hardwood floor, a towel would be great because it'll allow your knee to slide. If you're on like a mat or carpet, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to work very well with that. Right? So I'm here in this lunge position with my back knee underneath the slide, or my back knee on top of the slider. All right. I'm going to try not to move my front leg. All right. I'm going to only move my back leg. And what this looks like is my back leg is going to swing underneath me. Like that until I'm in 90-90. See, my back foot didn't, or my front foot didn't move. All right, just my back leg did, and I should be able to find a stretch in my left butt cheek area. All right, and now I'm going to pop up and swing back. All right, don't like that slider. I normally just deal with the rug burn or put on sweatpants, but all right, let's try it again. I'm gonna spin this back leg, try to maintain that stable. And then I start to go down. I find the stretch in my left butt cheek, and then I will swing it on back. Good. I'm spreading out here. I swear this works with sweatpants. All right, one more time. Here, I spin, and I'm down to there. I find the stretch, and I will pop up, open up, and reset. All right, let's try this on the other leg. Boom, boom. All right, this leg stays stationary. My right leg's gonna rotate. All right, so you see how that rotates, it comes through. Trying to keep this leg open for as long as I can. And then I'll start to sink down back in this kind of 90-90. It's a pseudo 90-90, not a true 90-90. I don't care too much about angles right now. I care that we're feeling our right butt cheek stretch. Press back up. And turn it back. All right. Ow. Here we go. Let's slide around. Down. Ooh, cramp. Ooh. All this running I'm doing has got me cramping. Hand up. Spin. That was a better one. Last one here. Ready? And up. Spin. Good. Let's rest there. Oh, and whew. I want to finish off just a little butterfly stretch, just passive butterfly stretch. All right, and this is what I'm talking about with how passive stretching feels good. All right, right now, just kind of hanging out. Feel a light stretch in my groin, inner thigh. We did a lot of work on there, and just hold that a few seconds to feel good. And now just finish off 90-90 switch. Get those hips moving with the help of our spine and pelvis. So this is just like less focused mobility work. We're not, for most people, we're probably not making any true change to our physiology or anatomy here. I'm just kind of loosening things up. All right, by helping the nervous system to relax by doing stuff like this. Remember, it's got its place. It's just not the way that you're going to see a lot of change in your tissues over time. All right. Anyway, thank you guys. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 7 a.m. for Mobility Mornings.